Welcome to the Irish Fireside. My name is Corey, and today I'm talking about smartphones in Ireland and the best Irish travel apps with Jody Halsted from Ireland with Kids and StephanieChastain from Infinite Ireland. And for the very first time, this episode is recorded with Google Hangout, so you can listen in to just the audio or watch the Hangout on YouTube. Details are in the show notes at irishfireside.com, episode number 125. That's also where you'll find links to all the apps and resources we mentioned in the show. So pour yourself a drink, sit back and relax here at the Irish Fireside.
Handy resource for anybody with families. Welcome to the Irish Fireside. Welcome back to the Irish Fireside, Jody.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this.
And our other guest is StephanieChastain, and she is from Infinite Ireland. Now, Stephanie, your website is geared towards first-time travelers, but I have to say anybody who maybe hasn't been to Ireland in a while, or even some of us regulars, will find some useful stuff over there. So welcome for your first time on the Irish Fireside.
Thank you very much.
I think for starting out, because we're going to be talking about travel apps and things for smartphones and tablets, I'd like to first start, let's talk about what devices we're using or what we're familiar with so that people have a little context. Stephanie, what kind of device do you use?
We actually don't travel with a smartphone. We're kind of still back in the, I don't know, the 90s maybe, where we don't take our cell phones, but we do actually, the last time in September we went to Ireland, we actually started going with our iPad. And so we're slowly getting up there into the new generation, but it's actually been fantastic to integrate a little bit of technology with still being on vacation, still kind of leaving some of that stuff at home. So we pretty much do iPad as well as, you know, connecting when we can, you know, maybe in an internet cafe or, you know, whatever's available, computer at a bed and breakfast. But now that we have the iPad, it's been much, much easier.
Now, with your iPad, are you using just Wi-Fi, or do you have a SIM card that you use over there?
We are actually just using Wi-Fi. We don't have a SIM card, or we don't have a data plan. So we're looking, when we travel, we look for bed and breakfasts that have Wi-Fi, or actually there's one app that I want to talk about that helps us find Wi-Fi when we are in Ireland. So that's been really helpful as well.
Good. Have you found it? Well, I guess you'll be telling us about finding Wi-Fi, so I'm not going to ask that question yet. I'm jumping the gun. Jody, tell us what devices you're on.
I am an Android girl all the way. So I have, what is it? It's a Droid Razr smartphone. And then I also travel a little bit with my Acer tablet. So we do use both of those. With my smartphone, I'm on Verizon, and they have a very nice international plan. It's not turned on all the time because that would, you know, you would just use way too much data. But we did use it, especially when we're driving in Limerick. We used it a lot because you just can't find anything in Limerick. And I used it also when we would get to places. I would Instagram and check in on Foursquare. Just, you know, to show off, kind of, I think. Look where I am, and you're not. So.
Yeah, and for me, both Liam and I have had iPhones for a number of years, but also I have an Irish Android phone that I've used, and then we also have a mobile hotspot in Ireland that we're able to use. So when we're using the devices, our U.S. devices, we're using Wi-Fi either through that hotspot or through Wi-Fi, and then that Android phone has come in really handy, especially because it can be used as a Wi-Fi hotspot as well. So we can use our jump on our computers using that internet through there. I've heard a lot of people on some of the message boards talking about getting a local SIM card and putting that into their phone. And I mean, it's not hard to do. I know that for sure. But I don't necessarily know if it's always as cost effective as people think it is. Because ultimately, getting a data plan, I mean, depending on if you're just going to be checking email, doing just basic, you know, using your map and GPS and basic searches, you know, you can get a pretty, you know, basic international data plan for, you know, say $50, or it can go anywhere up to, you know, I think $100, and end up with a plan that's going to suit you, especially if you're only traveling for a week or two. So I hear a lot of people get really excited. I'm going to go over and buy this local SIM card, and I kind of think if you're only going over once and you're going to be there for a week, I don't know if it's really worth the hassle of having to find the shop and do that. That's my take on that.
And not only that, but you can't just pop a SIM card into any phone. It has to be an unrooted phone, and you have to make sure that it's compatible with the SIM cards. And really, unless you are a constant traveler, I don't think it's probably worth it. I know that the Verizon plan I used, I want to say it was 100 megabytes of international data, and it was under $50. I know that for a fact because my bill was not that high. And then I think it's Boingo that has, you can buy data, or you can buy mobile plans, data plans by the month. And I know they have a really nice Ireland plan as well.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like $60.
And it's one of those things when it comes to those data plans. Like when I was there for the entire month, I needed the bigger package from AT&T. But when I definitely don't go through. I mean, it's only because I was there for the whole month of August that I needed the bigger data plan. But if I was there for 2 weeks, I wouldn't use nearly all that data. So, and I do reserve, like you do, you all do, uploading photos, downloading things that have images. I save that for Wi-Fi just because I'm not going to risk. Yeah.
One of the things too that we've not used but really are looking for potentially using next time is our own, hotspot. You can purchase these now for $10 a day. If you're going to be there for a week or 2 weeks, that might actually be worth having your own hotspot. You can have 4 or 5 devices that could connect to that one hotspot. So I travel with my husband. He's got a device. I've got a device. That could be handy.
If you ever do, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, try traveling with a connected family. There's 4 of us, and me, my husband, both of my girls have Kindles, Kindle Fires. So, there's my computer, my phone, my husband's phone. Sometimes it's his computer. It's kind of crazy.
If any of you do use one of those like rental hotspots, definitely let me know how that works for you, because having the hotspot that we have that we pay for, and we're not on any kind of contract or anything. We bought the device and then we just top it up, and it's really nice because it holds the charge a little bit better than the phone because it doesn't have a screen and all that stuff. So it lasts really long. And you can have it in the car, which is really, like I'm not, so as we're going, one of us can be doing maps on our home phone, our US phone, and it's just really nice to be able to use that phone you're familiar with rather than me switching back and forth between because sometimes, and it's a cheap Android too that I use, so the screen isn't as good as the iPhone, comparatively, so I find myself like thumbing the screen to death. So, okay. Well, Jody, do you want to share your first choice app?
Because I do travel with my children, one of my favorite apps is called Ireland, Are We There Yet? And it was built by a native Irish woman. I believe she lives in Galway. And Anne, and I'm going to butcher her last name. I think it's Breheny, but I've probably said that wrong. It's a really nice app. I love the way that it's set up because it's meant to be useful for parents and kind of a boredom buster for children. So you can search it in a lot of different ways. You can just browse by pictures, or you can search it by categories. And then it also has scavenger hunts in it and rainy day activities and just really fun things for the kids to do while you're driving. So I love the app. You can search by county. You can search, break it down by museum or animals. It's really got a great search feature on it. And then when you choose what it is you want to view, you click it and it gives you pictures, and it tells you, like right now, the Armagh County Museum is 6,209 kilometers from where I sit. But it tells you their opening and closing hours. It gives you their website, and you can connect directly from the app. It has their phone number, so you can call directly from the app. And it's just loaded with information. She updates it regularly, so she's always adding a lot of fun new things to it. And I just think that it is a fabulous, fabulous app for visiting Ireland, whether you have kids or not.
Yeah, Anne, who I don't even say her last name, so I just call her Anne. She is really good too she loves the feedback too. So there's like ways to give feedback on there, or you can email her, or if you went to a place you want her to add it to it, she's really big into adding people's suggestions too. So
Yes, she is.
I've spent some time on there too, and even if you don't have kids, I think it is something that a place, one that you're going to find some things that you go, oh, that's up my alley.
Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't just cover kid stuff. I mean, you have museums and just so much stuff. There was one on there. The castles are on there. There was one that just caught my eye a minute ago, and then I closed it. And it was a planetarium, I believe. And then they have fun things like candy shops. Guinness Storehouse is on there. The National Leprechaun Museum. So just tons and tons of really great things that I think are really nice for anybody, no matter your age.
And it uses the Sutro Media platform, which they have a version, or you're able to then also do a version that's downloadable to your device, so you don't have to have a data connection for that one. And that's kind of rare in a lot of these apps, is one that doesn't require a data connection.
Right, because we did use it for some of the things without the data plan on it when we were over there, just because I didn't want to run my data down. So it's really a nice app. I really like it.
Stephanie, is there one that you're really itching to tell us about?
Yeah, so the one that we use is free Wi-Fi Finder, and this is not necessarily to Ireland, but I mean it has actually quite a few, and adding several different locations every, I don't know if it's every day, but it's quite often. But what I like so much about it is in the same that with the other app is that you don't necessarily have to be connected to a data plan in order to access it. You can be, but you don't have to be. So they have a downloadable list of all the places that are already listed for whatever country you want to go to. So if you type in Ireland, it'll pop up out all these Wi-Fi spots in Galway, in Dublin, even in small towns. It even has go ahead.
Any places that surprised you that they had listed on there?
They had McDonald's listed on there. They had Starbucks. And what's really great is that you can suggest places. So if you found a place that does have Wi-Fi, you can put it in and say, hey, there's Wi-Fi here. People can use it. So, it's really great because it's kind of crowdsourced and people are, constantly adding new things. It also has, if you add a place that has Wi-Fi, or if you have a data plan, you can choose a near me function, and then it'll find where you are and tell you where the closest free Wi-Fi is. So that's great too, so that you don't necessarily have to be using your own data plan. So I love that. I mean, we travel to Ireland on a budget most of the time, and so stretching those dollars every little bit is really important to us.
Yeah, well, I always find myself I know some Supermax will have free Wi-Fi, and so you go in, but you find out that's the one that they don't even have Wi-Fi at that one, or something like that. Yeah. So knowing before you run all over town is kind of, that'll be one I'll be adding to my list, which is great. Yeah. My first pick, I think the first one I'm going to pick, it's called Great Drives Ireland. And it's put together, I can't remember if it's the Irish Times or one of their writers there, put together this, it's really nice because it picks specific drives. I think there's a couple of them on there. I'm trying to remember. I think it's 20 of them. So there's 20 of them. So and they're kind of spread out around the country. And it basically gives you a route and suggested stops along the way. One thing, and it's been a little while since I've been on there, but one thing I remember is that it said it had restaurant listings and things like that. That was not very helpful, but the sites along the way I thought were really nice, and they give good descriptions and lots of photos. So it's a nice app to have. So I would recommend that one. It's just a nice one. If you're self-driving, it's a good one to have. If you're on any kind of tour, or if you're sticking to the cities, that one's not going to help you as much. But that would be my next pick. Jody, what's next on your list?
Pinterest, actually. I love my Pinterest app. I actually have a Pinterest board set up under Ireland Family Vacations that I have broken down into Ireland by county and free in Ireland and Ireland travel planning. So with the Pinterest app, I can very easily say, okay, well, we're going to be in this area, and it's in County Cavan, and what have I pinned that looked really interesting to me for when we were in this area. So I use that app a ton just for bookmarking and keeping my information together and knowing what was on my mind for visiting and what looked interesting to me.
Especially that Pinterest has, been so popular, and travel is one of those things where photos and travels and food are the two things that Pinterest is best for, it seems.
Exactly.
So that's very cool. Stephanie, what other ones do you have?
Another one that I absolutely, okay, so I don't have a smartphone, but this is the one app that actually, there's quite a few, but this is one app that it almost tempts me to get one. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called Postagram.
Okay, yep.
So what it does is, you take your pictures with your iPhone or your Droid or whatever phone you have, and you can send your pictures to this app and send yourself or someone else a postcard with your own picture, which I think is fantastic. So you see, the Rock of Cashel, and you take your own picture of it, and then you write yourself, or write someone a nice note, and for 99 cents, you can send them that postcard, which I think is fantastic. One of my absolute favorite tips for travel is for every day of the trip that you're on, you send yourself a postcard of where you went or what exciting thing you did, so that you come home and you have all of these wonderful things. I just think it would be so neat to be able to send your own postcard of your own pictures. So I haven't used it, but I have friends who have, and it's just rave reviews. And I think that would be one that if I had a smartphone, yeah, you betcha I'd be doing it.
Well, you could actually use your iPad too if you take a photo with your iPad. So I would, because I have used, the one I've been using is called Simple Post or Simply Post, and it's the same concept. And I use it to send my niece and nephew postcards everywhere I go. And so I always love to take like the weirdest, craziest picture and send it to them. People love getting mail, and it's so different, getting it, in the mail. They actually have, their post delivery person is always, oh, you got something from your uncle today, which it's kind of cool to know that they love that. And they have them set aside. My niece uses them, which she takes them to school with her. So she's always like, this is Ireland. And in Ireland, and suddenly she does her whole presentation. Like, I'll take pictures of just weird things like the money. Or I'll take a picture of, a fairy fort that we went to, and she loves the fact that that's there. My nephew loves anytime I take a picture of animals or weird plants, like the monkey puzzle trees that you'll see and stuff like that. And I don't know, the other thing that I'm amazed about is when I come home, anything that I sent them in a postcard, they will tell me every detail that I wrote. Meanwhile, something I posted to them on Facebook or something like that, they're kind of like, oh, I think I remember. But anything that was a postcard, never forget it. So yeah, Stephanie, that's like an excellent suggestion. The one that I'm going to recommend is actually Google Maps, and I mean most smartphones already have that equipped, but now with like the iPhone having switched to its own mapping system, I would recommend anybody who has an iPhone or an iPad do get also the Google Maps app, mainly because of the Street View. Because in Ireland, Google has an office in Ireland, and they did a great job of getting roadways and that type of thing. So it's really nice when you're kind of getting, the night before, you can kind of go into the map, put the pin down, and get the view, and get the street view, and you can actually, do the 360 tour of most places in Ireland, and I really love that. I love kind of getting the feel for, okay, is this on a really remote road, or is this actually in town? What's around it? What should I look for? I use it all the time.
And so that's even really handy before you go when you're travel planning to use that view online, because there, when you're looking and where exactly is this, and finding good landmarks to get you there, especially if you're not using a navigational unit, that's really handy.
Just remember that when you tell yourself you got to turn at the yellow house, they might have painted it. That's we had that happen. I was like, no, Lee, we're going to turn at the yellow house, and suddenly it's blue, and I'm like, we kind of, you have that moment of panic. Should we turn? Should we turn? It's all good though. Who wants to go next?
Actually, I'm going to just tag right along on your Google Maps and say that on my Android phone, I have an app that just simply is called Navigation, and it has a really pretty little blue arrow as its symbol. But I use that to find my way around the cities, because once you get out of the city centers in places like Galway and Limerick and Cork, it's really easy to get turned around. And I mean, in Dublin, there aren't street signs on half the streets. So it can be really difficult if you're driving in a new place and you have absolutely no idea and really bad directions. That navigation app can be a lifesaver and possibly, keep you from tearing your hair out.
And have you found it to be pretty good about like one-way streets and that type of thing?
Yeah, I didn't run into any problems. We were trying to navigate our way to Owen's house in Limerick, and Owen does Bite Size Irish. And it led us right there around the one-way streets and through these little narrow areas without a problem. So it did quite well. And I think it's not a Verizon app. It's not the Verizon navigation. I think it's just your standard Android navigation app.
Cool. And Stephanie?
One of the ones which most people probably know about, but I find it to be incredibly useful, is Skype. As a new traveler, I was really concerned when I first went to Ireland, just several years ago now, but when I first went to Ireland, I was really concerned. It was my first time abroad. I was away from home, and I wanted to make sure that I could still be in touch with my family. And now Skype not only has the video chats that you can do for free with other people who have Skype, but you can also have really inexpensive international calls. And that's fantastic. I mean, my sister was actually, she had her baby while we were in Ireland this past year, and so not being there was really, really tough for us. But with the technology today, we were able to be able to talk to her the day after, and I just really think that everybody should have kind of that home base, or that ability to get home or talk to someone at home easily. And I find that Skype is really, really the most useful for me. Now, with Google's kind of coming up with everything, but so there's FaceTime with Safari and Google Chat, and there's all sorts of other options. But I've really come to like Skype quite a bit.
Yeah, you'll find me in the town of Neenah outside the library at all hours, because you can get the Wi-Fi outside the library, sitting there on my phone using Skype, because it's a great way to, and they have a nice awning, so if it's raining, I just hang out under the awning. They probably, I'm sure the Garda are kind of looking at me going like, okay, some strange man lurking in the library shadows. So,
that is a really great recommendation. We used it, the girls and I went to Ireland last year without my husband, and we used it every day just to check in, and so the girls could have FaceTime with their dad. 10 days away was a bit long after a few. So that is a great recommendation.
And I'd say the Hangout system would also work too, pretty well for that type of thing. Yeah, but with Skype too, it's nice now that they have the multiple things, so you could call both sets of grandparents, or that type of thing, in one call if you were close on time or something like that.
Just so you know, the Hangout rang in on my phone and my computer at the same time, which was a little disconcerting the first time. So, just so you're aware that the new Google Plus update does include Hangout.
Okay. There we have it. Well, the next app that I'll talk about, B&B Ireland has an iPhone app, and it's pretty nice. All things, a lot of times booking apps can be a little frustrating. This one, they do have a Find Things Close to Me, and the only difficulty is sometimes, like B&B Ireland, it's not every B&B in Ireland, so people have to remember it's their member site. So, you end up with kind of, a nice mix of B&Bs, but it's nice because you can sort it by the different themes that they have, which is, I think, really helpful. But the Near Me thing when you're traveling is also, probably one of the best things. The only thing is if you're using the app, I would not recommend it for finding a B&B like you could find a B&B and call them. Don't try to book online, because if they're not checking their email and you're going to be there in an hour, it's they're not really equipped for that kind of thing. But the app is really nice. I mean, if you're at home, I don't know that the app is going to do anything more than the website's going to be probably a better choice. But on the phone, I'm able to look at photos. I can go through, and it does give me all the contact information. Most of them have their GPS location on there, so it's pretty easy to find stuff on there. So I give that one a thumbs up. The only thing is it does take a while once you get into the booking engine, because they send that kind of out. It's like outsourced type thing or whatever it is, and it's all heavily encrypted. So you're kind of hope that you have a fast connection, because the encryption and that type of thing does slow it up a little bit. So, don't get frustrated with it. And if you got a good signal and you're in the car, pull off and finish your booking. Because I did have a spot where I hit a dead zone, and because I was bound and determined while I was there, I was going to book my B&B for 3 nights down the road, and I thought, well, might as well do it while I'm on the road. Don't put me out. So maybe you want to stop the car. And I was not driving, I will add.
That's good.
Is this my computer that froze?
You look frozen, but I can hear you.
I can hear you too.
Well, as long as you can hear me. It might just take a second for my computer to catch up. Jody, do you have another?
I do. Groupon. Most people don't realize that you can purchase Groupons from anywhere that there is Groupon. And Groupon has some really amazing activities. They've had Cliffs of Moher boat cruises and Book of Kells drives with cream tea, and walking tours of Dublin and horseback riding. So you can find all these really great activities, and usually the activities are good for months and months at a time. So if you know that you're going to Ireland in July, and you see this boat cruise you want to take for €9 a person, that's an amazing deal. So go ahead and book it. Use the Groupon app. You don't have to print out any paper. It'll pull up your Groupon. You just show it to them when you get there. And I think it's a great app. And then also, it would be great if if you're somewhere and it's beyond a soft day and it's just raining. Check Groupon, see if there are any deals going on that that can apply to that day, and spend a day in a museum or at a site that has some shelter to it, and save a little bit of money, because you can buy Ireland Groupons from the U.S. just as easy as you can buy them in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that quite a bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just started noticing Groupon stuff, so I'm actually looking at, should we include some of that stuff on our site? But go ahead. What ones have you done, or what kind of things did you find?
We've done all sorts of things, but primarily we find restaurants in cities or towns that we'll be in. So instead of spending maybe 15 or €30 on a meal, we're spending 5 or 10. And it certainly makes quite a bit of a difference when you're on a budget. You want to make sure you're saving whatever you can. Getting some of them are like appetizers, dinner, drinks. I mean the whole shebang. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, you can even find some really nice hotel stays or B&B stays on there. And if you read the fine print, which I look at really closely to see, okay, if I want to bring a child, okay, this one it's an extra €5 for children, 8 and up, and children 7 and under are free. So if you really look and read the fine print, you can find some really good deals for your family, as long as you can fit into that time frame that they're good for.
Good. Stephanie, do you have other apps on your list?
Yeah, so one of the other ones I have is Trail Wallet. I guess I feel like I have a money theme going on tonight, but this one's really fantastic. It's by a couple of travel bloggers who travel around the world. Never Ending Voyage is the name of the blog. But they created a travel app that you can enter in your expenses for every day. And what I like so much about it is not only that it tracks your expenses, but you can categorize them, and you can it also keeps track of the currency. So if I put in, say I bought a scarf for €20, it'll tell me what the exchange rate was in the US. So at the end of my trip, I can export an entire Excel spreadsheet with absolutely everything I spent. As long as I'm keeping up with it during the day, then I have everything logged, which is great, because one of the on the blog, one of our most popular posts is it costs $1 million to travel to Ireland. Obviously, it doesn't cost $1 million. So yeah, I think that's really just rather amazing app.
Yeah, people do want to know things like, how much does it cost for a pint, and those are good points of reference, talking about how much it costs for a bottled water, or because those are everyday things versus it's easy to find out what a B&B costs or what but those other things aren't necessarily posted.
In souvenirs, people want to know how much you buy things for, and sometimes people really think it's going to be so expensive to travel, and it could be, but it doesn't have to be. And so I think that those are really good things to know.
Jody, do you have another app?
I do. I was looking at this one just to make sure, and I'm not positive. It says that it's a worldwide app. I haven't used it outside of the U.S., but I really like it. It's called Field Trip. And what it does is when your phone is set up, it will notify you when there's something nearby that fits your interests. And it has just a bunch of interest lists, architecture, gaming, historic places, lifestyle, deals and offers, food and drinks, cool and unique, and arts and museums. But it's set up kind of along the lines of, look, this is near you, and this is what it is, and it's really cool. So, maybe you should check it out. So it notifies you automatically if you're near that. I found it really helpful, like I said, around the U.S. when we're traveling, to say, okay, well, it'll just bing at me and say, oh yeah, you're passing by this park or this playground, and here's what it has. So it says it's worldwide. I was scanning through Ireland. It looks like it should work there. It probably doesn't list absolutely everything, but it would be maybe a good companion to Ireland. Are we there yet? Or even if you're driving and the kids are getting nuts, just turning it on real quick and just seeing if there's anything nearby could be a sanity saver.
One or two of them that I would recommend too, these are discount ones, and you had mentioned Groupon, and now I'm thinking of this. The Ireland Discount Guide and Heritage Island both have apps, and those a lot of times have 2-for-1 deals and things like that. And their apps are pretty easy to use. They're really straightforward, and they really are intended to promote these sites, which most of the sites, I like most of the sites that are listed. You have to remember, especially in the Ireland Discount Guide, that a lot of them are paying for advertising in there, so they're vetted in that way as opposed to an editor's pick, so it wouldn't be the same as maybe what some of the guidebooks would have. Sometimes that'll introduce you to something new, but it might also introduce you to something that might be normally more expensive, so that discount coupon comes in really, really handy. So those two definitely I would recommend. They're definitely worth the download if you're looking to save money and you're going to be going to some popular tourist destinations.
And if you aren't planning to use your phone, I know Heritage Island, you can actually just print off the discount page and take it in and use it. We did that last year, and I just whip it out and say, "Oh, look!" And they were really good at honoring it.
Good. Stephanie, what's on your list?
So one of the last ones that I have is Gate Guru. If you're familiar with this one, this is a great airport app. Basically has where you can upload your flight info, and then you can get push notifications for status updates for your flight, so if it's delayed, how long, where your gate is. The other piece that I really like as well is the airport food finder and amenities. My husband at times can be a really picky eater, and I can be too, but so we'd really try not to do the fast food thing very often. And so that's really great to be able to find maybe a little cafe or a restaurant within the airport that's maybe a little bit above McDonald's or whatever else. And so yeah, the Gate Guru it's a fantastic app for just finding things in the airport while you're waiting, 2 or 3 hours before your flight takes off.
Yeah, good one. One of the last ones that I have is Find Your Perfect Festival in Ireland, and it's an app, and it's been about a month since I was on there, so I'm trying to remember what all it had there, but it does list festivals throughout Ireland, so you can go through and pick a month or pick a theme, that type of thing, and find out what's going on in the different places. So it has all the big festivals, and a lot of people who are traveling, you look I think you base your itinerary on locations and sites, and a lot of times you forget that, well, you find those festivals, like there's a music festival going on in a nearby village or something like that. It's always worth stopping in and checking it out because those are always so community-based. A lot of them have a lot of free music, or the food type, vending type stuff can be just a fun addition, and you can get some cool photos. I think on busy streets with lots of people on them can be a lot of fun. So that's another one that I'd recommend. Is there another app out there?
Speaking of photos, because I know that the camera on my phone is actually as good or better than like just a point-and-shoot camera. And more people are just carrying their smartphones instead of a small camera nowadays. So I think it's really important to have a good photo app on there. I use one called Collage Creator that I like, and I think they make it for iPhone. But because I don't have an iPhone, I don't know, because I know iPhone has just a bazillion photo apps. So just making sure that you have a really good photo app, I think, is important, because even if you're not connected to a digital connection, you can use it later when you're at the B&B or someplace with Wi-Fi, and you can load your photos up and share them very easily from your phone, and then you don't have to worry about downloading all those pictures you took with your big camera until you get home. And so I just think a good photo app is nice. And then most of them are set up so you can share it directly to Instagram, and then from Instagram you can share it to Facebook and Foursquare and Twitter and Flickr and Tumblr, and so you can really just do everything out of one really good photo app.
Mm-hmm. The one I've been using on the iPhone, it's now owned by Google, is Snapseed, and a lot of people want to know how I get the a lot of my landscape pictures. You use the drama filter and up the saturation, and it really will change the look of it. So I'm there with you. A lot of people have recommended Camera Awesome, which is, I think, a smug mug app. That's another. I mean, those, I'm just throwing out names. I don't necessarily know how great that one is, but people have raved about that one as well.
Yeah. I just think a good photo app on your phone is just almost essential, especially because you snap pictures with your phone, just really quickly. And then, I carry my phone and I carry a Micro Four Thirds, and I probably take just as many pictures with my phone just because of the quality of the pictures, and they're more easily shareable.
I want to give a shout out to the Ireland Green Guide as well. That's Catherine Mack, and it's in kind of a similar format to the Ireland Are We There That Yet app. It's a Sutro Media one as well, and that one has more of the it's Green Guide, so it all has to do with things that are sustainable or sustainable energy or green hotels and that type of thing. But it's pretty broad as far as the types of places you'll find on there. So I want to give a shout out to that one. I think it's done pretty well, and lots of good sites in there.
I was going to say, I think they even have like yurt camping on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that I think of kind of like, that's kind of a random cool thing on there. So yeah, I recommend that one. What other ones are out there? Are there other ones that you guys are thinking of?
Well, I think you're missing the main one, aren't you, Corey?
Well, I was going to save the best for last. Which one would that be, Jody?
Oh, that would be the Ireland Travel Kit, of course.
All three of us contribute to the Ireland Travel Kit, and I think we're all in love with it, aren't we?
It's a lovely app.
Go ahead. Who wants to tell the audience a little bit about that app?
Well, what I like about the Ireland Travel Kit is that it's not just coming from one point of view. I like the fact that there are, over a dozen contributors now, if I'm not correct. So I like the fact that you can map things out. You can kind of figure out where you are, what's nearby with the map. And now it's loading and I can't do anything with it. But I like the fact that it has such a wide variety of things. A lot of the times you get to an app and the person who created it has a real love of castles or a real love of wells. And it kind of gets oversaturated with certain things. And the fact that the Ireland Travel Kit has so many contributors, it keeps the content really varied, and I absolutely love that.
and version 1.2 was just brought online last week, at least for the iPhone. I'm not sure what the Android version did.
I haven't seen the Android update yet.
Yeah, one of the main changes that we made was that the mapping now is based on our pics, because there's the ones that are our pics that are also featured on the website, and then there's a lot of other sites that we don't necessarily have a description for, but they're pinpointed, and then there's links to someone else's information. And so, because as you guys know, when we're trying to do this, we're trying to cover as much of Ireland as possible too, because I think that's the other problem with a lot of apps. You find they're really heavy on Dublin sites or Galway sites or something like that, but you're traveling through Monaghan or something like that, and there's zero there, and we're always trying to add more to that. So
I have to ask about this. Your travel notes, I like that. Now, do those just stay with me, or if I were adding a note to something, would that come back to you to be somehow added into content in any way?
It must not come back to me.
I didn't see
those and the audio notes, I think those all stay with you. Meanwhile, the give feedback or the contact us ones, those would come back to us.
The share experiences.
Yeah. So they're pretty specific on that, and I should look and see if I could explain that a little bit in there so people know, so they're not expecting. Because I know also, like on the Green Travel Guide and the Ireland Are We There Yet, you can leave a lot of comments that are public on there, which is kind of nice to see what people have left. And I encourage, if anybody's using any of those apps, and anyone that we've mentioned, if there's a spot to leave comments or give feedback to the authors, being on this side of it, it's really nice hearing back from people and knowing that people are using it, because once they download it, you don't know what's happening. So definitely. And both of you, thank you so much for your contributions on the Ireland Travel Kit, because, like as Jody said, having the diverse kind of people adding things makes it really, it's fun for me because I'm finding things that I would have missed or that I haven't seen yet. I love that.
That happened to us. Oh, I was just that happened to us. When we were there in our last trip, we didn't really have anything planned really for a couple of days. We were in Galway and we didn't have like a strict plan. And literally, the hotel where we were staying, in the morning, we were literally going through the Ireland Travel Kit and like coming up with our itinerary for the day, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's one of those wonderful apps that you can use, instantaneously and just plan your day, because there is so much out there.
Right.
Yeah, and a couple counties that are especially well represented are like Donegal, Galway, Tipperary, which are ones that once you get outside of the towns, a lot of people don't know what's going on. And there's other ones as well, but if you were in Galway, then I think a lot of Tony's contributions are kind of those really unusual ones, are kind of parks and things like that. So, well, this has been really a lot of fun. Any specific tips that you guys have as far as using a smartphone, gaining access to Wi-Fi? We've given quite a few, but anything you can specifically think of that you want to tell people?
I would just say, if you do plan to use your smartphone in Ireland, just contact your provider and make sure you are getting the very best economical plan that you can get. I know Verizon has a plan for international data that is really, really quite nice. But if you can't find one that fits your budget, look outside the box. Like I said, I know Boingo has some really nice digital plans that you can get very easily, and I think they're like $60 a month. You can get them by the month, as well as Verizon. You can just turn it on, turn it off when you're done. So just make sure that you are checking your prices, getting the right product, and that you remember to turn it off when you get back.
Mm-hmm. I know one thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what I say when you're looking at where you're going to stay, if you're one of those people that book in advance, check out and see if they have Wi-Fi. I think that's one of the things that I was really surprised this past time. We've seen a significant increase in the number of bed and breakfasts that actually have Wi-Fi now. It's really becoming the norm instead of irregular. So I would say, ask, because you might be surprised and find out that the place you want to stay actually does have access for you.
And if they don't have it, ask your host, because they've been asked this question enough times. They know where in town might have some free Wi-Fi for you too. If you don't have the free Wi-Fi finder on your app on your phone. A tip that I'd suggest too is if you do use an international plan, your phone probably has an app that will tell you what your data is. Realize that it can take up to 48 hours for that data to be updated from international. Your local or your domestic data usually is updated more frequently, but it might take that 48 hours. Also know, like with AT&T, we found that we bought a smaller plan and we were able to just constantly add, upgrade to the next level even after the fact. So we went over, got an outrageous bill, over $1,000 phone bill, which like makes you freak out. Called them, and part of it was because we were there for more than a month, and for some reason they automatically reset after 30 days back to our original plan. And when we were able to call them, they immediately knocked off that amount. And we also found, here's another tip, we called again and they took off more money, and then we called a third time and still got more knocked off. So if you're feeling like they are charging more, sometimes they do have some leeway. There's going to be a certain point where they're going to say, forget about it, we're not going to let you ever go international again. But as long as you're paying and you're not trying to get out of paying it, if you're trying to make it so you get paid nothing, they've been very accommodating in the past. The only problem is it takes a long time with those phone calls. You are on hold for, quite a while. Any other tips?
I think my only other one would be if you are using a credit card or you have a card through your bank, maybe have their app on. Last year when we were in Ireland, our bank changed their entire system while we were there, and I couldn't access my money.
Oh.
And because we were on, 8-hour difference, it was really difficult for me to call and talk to the bank. And that app saved my life because they have somebody on that all the time. So that's really handy if especially if you forget to call your bank or your credit card and tell them you're traveling, and then they turn off your card because they think it's stolen. So if you are using cards or banking or something, having that app on there could be just a really quick lifesaver.
I'm glad I'm not the only veteran traveler who has forgotten to call their credit card, even though I tell people over and over again, call, call, call.
Yeah, it's easy to slip.
Yeah, well, great advice, everybody. Now, before we close out, feel free, tell us a little bit about maybe about your next trip, a little bit about your websites too, and where people can find you. I mentioned those in the beginning, but what's going on your websites as well. So, Jody, do you want to go first?
Sure. I write a site. It's called Ireland with Kids. The reason I started it is because most people think of Ireland as a place for singles who are on a gap year, or maybe more seasoned travelers who are on a bus trip, and they really don't think about Ireland as a place to take families. And what I like to tell them is that the magic is real, and there are no big scary mice running around. But it's an amazing place to take your family, and in all honesty, we can travel to Ireland for less than we could travel to Disney for the same period of time. It may seem like it's really expensive, but if you actually break it down, it's not as expensive as you might think. So my whole goal with Ireland with Kids is to really make people consider Ireland as a family destination. So, and it's irelandwithkids.com, very, very easy to find.
Great. And Stephanie?
Sure. So my website is infiniteireland.com, and I started it just actually a little bit over 7 months ago, I guess now. And originally, when I went to Ireland for the first time, it was on my honeymoon, and it was my first trip abroad, first time out of the country, and I was nervous. It was on my honeymoon. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it all to be right, and it was wonderful. It was everything that I could have asked, and we have gone back multiple times since then, which has been fantastic, and we've become a resource for all of our friends and family and their friends and their family, and so I just began writing these things down and then started a blog to share it with the rest of the world. We really concentrate on Ireland for first timers, or first time people are going abroad, or first time people are going to Ireland. But as Corey, as you said, I think there's probably quite a bit of useful information for anybody traveling to Ireland. We tend to write kind of epic posts. I mean, really long things that might be a lot of information, but geared towards the Uber planner that wants to know everything about traveling for the first time and what they need to know just to be kind of covering their bases, kind of how I was. I wish there would have been a resource back then that had everything. So I was trying to be that resource, but now that I've gotten so knowledgeable, you know, there's so many resources out there as well. I like to connect people with the, you know, the Irish Fireside and Ireland with Kids and, you know, God Ireland and all the other Irish websites and blogs out there as well. So, you know, that's really the purpose, and it's been a lot of fun. I just really like connecting with people and talking about Ireland. So that's why the blog exists. And Infinite Ireland, come by and visit us, and we'll chat.
And thank you very much. And I will make sure that we have links to all the things that we mentioned in the show notes and on in the descriptions on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can see our faces. We're a cheerful little group here, and you can go to YouTube and look at us. But if you're walking the dog or on your treadmill or whatever, keep it up. And we're really glad that I was able to have great guests talking about a really topical information here, because I do get a lot of questions about apps, and people who are into apps really want to know what travelers are using rather than what are showing up at the top searches in the app searches. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Corey. It's fun.
Thank you so much.
Okay.